Hello. Wanted to bring you guys something today that has been showing up a lot when I'm providing meditation training for people. Um, and that is rain meditation with a little bit of a modification. So, some of you know that I am an expressive arts therapist specializing in trauma and trained in meditation as well. One of my teachers was Tara Brock, and she's very prominent with this rain idea. Um, and so after I was training with her, I used it in my practice. But I work with people who have a lot of trauma. And so there's some modifications that I've done that I thought might be helpful for people. And I want to make it really clear that if you use these modifications, it doesn't mean you're doing any less of meditation or you're not working as hard. It just means that we're infusing the process with compassion at every step. And compassion, especially towards ourselves, is one of those things that can be really missing and really important. So sit back, relax, and I will take you through my version of a modified rain practice with the idea of um, self compassion, self equanimity being infused into it a little bit more. So, just as a little bit of an understanding, RAIN is an acronym for um, four different things. First is recognize, second is allow, third is investigate, and fourth is nurture, which that's got its own little things. So we'll talk more about that when we get there. So take a minute, get settled into your spot. Whatever's going to be comfortable for you for the next few minutes of going through this process. And bring to mind a situation in which you were somehow maybe triggered is the word, maybe activated. Not anything too big. We're going to start with the smaller stuff here. So take a minute and remember the scene or the situation and try to let yourself feel into that space as if you were there again. And once you've settled in with that a little bit, we're going to consciously acknowledge what is going on feeling wise through recognizing what's here, recognizing thoughts, feelings, behaviors, sensations. This helps us be really present with what's happening and not be stuck in the trance, as Tara calls it, the trance that keeps us from being able to be present in our own lives. And when you come to this place of understanding what might be happening here, just recognize it in a soft whisper or an internal voice, noting the feeling or sensation that's come up. Now, at this point, I'd like you to just pause and take a little bit of inventory. Recognizing can be a big step for many of us, especially if we're caught in the swirl and the patterns that we've been engaged in that have helped us not recognize. So take a minute here and just check into yourself to see if what you're experiencing might be uncomfortable, but is okay to move forward, might be uncomfortable, and some resourcing might be helpful, like focusing in on some deep breaths or engaging in something like the butterfly hug to help your nervous system. And if you've had to take those steps of resourcing yourself, take another minute to check in and see if you can step forward into the next component of this. And if you feel that it's not okay, or it feels like it would be too triggering, please let yourself step back. It is a radically compassionate act to not push ourselves forward like a bulldozer, which many of us do. We have to teach ourselves to acknowledge what's happening and to have the compassion for ourselves to step back if we need to. We can always come back to this practice, and we don't have to push our way into doing the practice until we're ready. So if you determined that we can move forward, or that you can move forward in this process, let's step into allow. And this simply means letting the thoughts, emotions, or feelings or sensations that we recognized to just be present. We're not pushing them away. We're not eating a candy bar or watching TV or overburdening ourselves with tasks so we don't have to feel this. We're letting it be here. Allow doesn't mean that we have to like it. Allow doesn't mean that we somehow have to twist ourselves into pretending what we're experiencing is something that we're okay with. Allowing just means that we're building a capacity to be present with what's showing up without trying to push it away. It might be important to acknowledge that it's okay. Right now in this moment, it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's okay. And see if you can hold that space a little bit. And if it feels like it's extremely hard or it feels triggering, take a little inventory to see if you can be here. And if not, step back into that radical act of compassion to let yourself take a break. That could be listening through the rest of this meditation, but not engaging in the process. It can look like many things to step back. But the point is that you're compassionately holding space for where you are right now. And sometimes we need a little bit of practice at it to be able to step into it fully. So if you feel like you have been able to move into the next one, the I, the investigate, then let yourself get curious about the feelings, sensations, patterns that are here. And our natural curiosity is really a desire to know the truth. So the truth of the sensations, especially when we've been kept small by them, sometimes we've lost why they're here. Sometimes they're the kinds of things that we believe but aren't necessarily true. And so, directing a more focused intention on the investigation piece, we might ask questions like, what most wants my attention? How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? What story is up and running? What does this vulnerable place in me most need? And as well as you can, lean into the sensation in the body. The senses are the pathway through. And if you notice that you're thinking about instead of feeling about this investigation, then just bring yourself back to your senses. Again, with kindness, without judgment. It's through kindness and this complete acceptance of what's showing up that we start to help ourselves build safety and trust that we know how to take care of ourselves and to bring compassion, even amidst something that doesn't feel very good. So again, take inventory, non-judgmentally, please, and see if you are able to step forward. And I think of this as I think of yoga class. And if you've never been in a yoga class, one of the things that happens is that you're invited to stretch in ways that, if you're not very practiced, can sometimes cause pain. And in wonderfully compassionate and sometimes creative ways, the yoga teacher encourages us to come right up against the pain and see if we can step a little farther into it. Now, of course, if you can't, that means to step back. And that's what we're practicing, except using the emotional body instead of the physical body. So take assessment again and see if, whether or not there is pain or discomfort, you can stretch into it a little more and step forward. And if you can't, you may step out in a radical act of self-compassion and just try again another time. So if you've been able to step into the next piece, we're going into nourish with self-compassion, the N of rain. And part of what we're doing here is recognizing that we have been stuck in a small space, a space of suffering. And when we can recognize that, then we open the door to self-compassion to come in. And we want to intentionally nourish ourselves. And to do this, we offer some level of care, a gesture of care. Now, for some people, it can be hard to think about this. This is one of the harder pieces for those of us in the United States, because there's often this huge trance of unworthiness that any level of compassion towards ourselves can feel very challenging. So if all you have is the ability to bring your hand to your heart, or your hand to your heart and your belly, then that's okay. That's also an act of connecting into yourself in a compassionate way. If we have to keep it real simple to begin with, it might be as easy for you as just saying, okay, you did a good job. Just like you might to a child or a friend in your life. If they were doing hard work, what would you say to them? And if you want to take it further than that, you can say things like, I am here with you. It's not your fault. Trust in your goodness. I love you and I'm listening. Or any other thing that might feel important in your own words. For some people, it can feel good if they whisper this out loud. For some people, it's more of an internal dialogue. You get to practice with what works best for you. And just continue to hold that space for yourself. It's the smallest gesture of turning towards yourself with love can start to break down this idea of smallness and isolation and lack of connection. We're nourishing our hearts. We're nourishing some of the things that we need most that we don't provide ourselves because of patterns, ways of thinking about how we are. And let yourself stay here as long as it feels necessary, leaning into your inner wisdom to guide you. And I invite you to do another scan of where you are right now. Noticing even subtle changes that have happened because you've been able to turn towards your experiences with an openness and maybe for the first time letting things be what they were, what they are. Let yourself lean into the awareness that you've taken yourself through a process that helps you not get caught in the patterns of reactivity, but gives you the skill and the structure around the situation to be able to understand what's happening and to intentionally give it some air, some space, so that it can dial down and dissipate. And you are not reacting, you are acting and being with. And just acknowledge to yourself, whether that's internally or through a soft whisper, just acknowledge what changed. What changed when you brought some attention to your situation or your feelings? And maybe give yourself a good job again. And let yourself practice this whenever it comes up, whenever something comes up. Maybe you'll remember the rain. I wish you all you need. And thank you for being here and listening.